Hey everyone, welcome to Tech Altitude. Microsoft has announced the price of the latest Xbox series of consoles. Now, yes, consoles. There are two different variants of the Xbox series this time around. The bigger variant called the Microsoft Xbox Series X, which we all are familiar about and we have been listening about it from the past year now, and the smaller variant, more toned down variant called the Xbox Series S. Now, one might think what's new in this, because even Sony has announced two different variants of the PlayStation 5. But this approach of Microsoft is completely different, and if everything goes well, this thing might hamper the sales of the PlayStation 5 very severely. Now, before I tell you how the PlayStation is going to get affected with the announcement of this Xbox Series S and the Xbox Series X, let's take a closer look of the smaller variant that has been announced recently.
Let me hear you. If you're ready for the brand new thing.
The smaller variant is seriously compact when compared to Series X. In fact, it's almost 1/3 the size of Series X. If you have ever seen the previous versions of Xbox, more accurately the Xbox One S, basically it's the same design and same body, just more compact, and unlike the previous one, this new Series S does not have an optical CD drive. That means you have to rely on downloading games over the internet. The Series S will run all the games on resolution of up to 1440p at 60 frames per second, where the bigger variant, the Series X, goes till 4K resolution at 120 frames per second. Not just that, the Series S will have a 512 gigabit of SSD on board, which is of the same specifications of the bigger variant. That means it will have the same reading and writing speed of the Series X. But the size, 512 gigabit, is directly half of the Series X, which is a big thing to consider because the smaller variant does not have an optical drive for loading up games. And the next generation games will have more larger file size, and that will take up a ton of space, and a half a terabyte of storage will not store more games on board. On the CPU front, both the devices are same. However, on the graphics side, specifically on the GPU performance, you will get 4 teraflops per second speed on the Series S, which is 1/3 of what you will get on the Series X, which is 12 teraflops. Now, 1/3 might sound really low, but for a resolution of up to 1440p at 60 frames per second, this speed is actually really enough. Besides all these differences, the Series S is capable of running all the latest generations of games side by side with the Series X. Now, on to the price of the latest consoles of Microsoft. The Series S, the smaller variant, will cost you around $300. And the Series X, the more flagship variant, the 4K 120 FPS, everything optical drive, will cost you around $500. And for half of the price or more than half of the price, the Series S looks like a real bargain here. If you're someone who wants the latest generation of gaming console and is really tight on budget, and if you're ready to sacrifice the 4K resolution, the 4K 120 FPS resolution, or if you're someone who is never going to play any of the next generation games on a 4K resolution, then the Series S might be the perfect choice for you. Now, on to the really important part, how the Xbox Series will hamper the sales of the PlayStation 5. Now see, Sony has come up with two different variants of the PlayStation 5. The regular one, which has an optical CD drive, and the second variant, which is a digital edition variant, which doesn't have an optical CD drive. But besides this only one difference, both these devices are flagship devices made for going head to head against the Xbox Series X, the flagship variant from Microsoft. Sony haven't announced the price of PlayStation 5 yet, but essentially it is going to be somewhere around $500. Well, that is because the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X are essentially the same devices or really similar to each other in terms of their internal components that are made by AMD. The digital variant of PlayStation 5 will cost lower than the regular variant because the absence of the optical CD drive. The price difference, however, will be somewhere around $50 to $40, but just don't expect more than that. On the other side of the spectrum, Xbox, or should I say Microsoft, has done really good by announcing or by coming up with two different variants or just completely two different consoles. The digital variant of PlayStation 5 will cost lower than the regular variant. That is because of the absence of optical CD drive. But the price difference will be somewhere around $50 to $40, and just don't expect more than that. On the other side of spectrum, Microsoft has done a really great job by announcing completely two different devices. The Xbox Series S and the X actually has a massive price gap of around $250, or should I say $200. And that makes it a win-win situation. Now, if someone doesn't have a big budget of $500, they can really opt for a smaller variant, the Series S, and they can enjoy all the latest generations of games. Well, this will hamper the sales of PlayStation 5 very much. Yes, I do agree, the fan base of PlayStation is just massive around the world. But in places like India, where people are really price sensitive, the Xbox Series S will have an upper hand over the PlayStation 5. In conclusion, the console war has been started with the price announcement from the Microsoft. Now it's your turn, Sony. Just try and place the price of PlayStation 5 somewhere between the Series S and the Series X and just spoil the party of Microsoft. Well, that's just my opinion. I just want that we, the people or the buyer or the consumer, should get a better product priced at a better price. So yeah, that's all with today's video. If you're seeing me for the first time, then consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps me a lot, and I'll be keeping all my track and all my eyes over the console war that has just been started. Well, that's been it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.